I'm here to talk about the Scenic Area of Statewide Significance Program. As Justin mentioned, he and Norma were at a meeting, and I think somebody from your local development corporation was there, and maybe somebody from your planning department. I don't remember exactly. When the Department of State did a presentation to us about this program. I received some information on this program about 2, maybe 3 years ago. From some interested people. It kind of went to the back seat with things that I was dealing with and being the new town supervisor, and I finally got back around to do it. Got the Department of State to come up. We had a very productive meeting at the Boat Museum, actually here in Clayton. After that, we actually applied for the grant to do this project. That's why Val kind of came in on that. She basically prepared the grant, helped get the grant in, and we were successful in getting the grant. We got a $75,000 grant, matching funds grant. She'll talk about that a little bit more too. Now we're at the point where it's time to start working on actually seeing if we can get this project. And what it involves is basically preparing the documents and preparing a very extensive package to submit to the Department of State, which in the end they will decide whether this region is worthy of being deemed a SASS area. And I'm not exactly sure what process they follow, but it's very important for a consultant and for the stakeholders to put forth a very convincing package. Knowing the Thousand Island region, I don't think that's going to be very hard. I think we have the material there to do this. Since we've gotten the grant, people were a little hesitant in the beginning didn't know a lot about it. Since then, the Seaway Trail people have kind of pledged their support on it. Save the River is very interested in it. Tilt, just Thousand Island Land Trust, just recently pledged their support. They're actually saying they can do maybe some of the work for us, some of the, which would save on what we pay a consultant. They have a girl on board this summer who's doing a GIS mapping system of the river. I don't really know much about that. I don't profess to know about that, but I guess it's really great. They're saying they can use that. I've also been starting to get tied in with RiverQuest. I'm sure a number of you, I know Norma doesn't know about RiverQuest, the cross-border initiative to promote economic and development on the river. And they're very excited about this very well. This is basically, a number of reasons to have that. I think Val has that information that she'll share with you too. So I'm basically going to turn it over to Val. She is what I call my project manager now, and the nuts and bolts of this whole project. So,
Aaron, we'll let you stand around and get this. Okay. You want to sit now, or you want to stand, or?
I can sit. That's fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good.
My name is Val Johnson, and I'm a part-time resident of Hammond, and my family has been coming up here for about 50 years. And I'm an academic, so that lends me the summers off to kind of give my services to the town in various ways. And I kind of hooked up with Vaughn with this because grant writing is kind of my mainstay in life, so I was more than happy to help out. For people who don't know what SASS is, I have a couple of handouts that I've made that kind of describes what it is. This is actually more or less the end product of what the grant that was received does. So this is actually, and this is a little handout that I made. I don't think I have enough, but if you want to pass it around, it just basically explains what the grant is about, and it's called the Thousand Islands Regional Assessment Project, and it was funded under Title 11. And what it does is it gives us $75,000, and the grant is for a 3-year period. The purpose is the production of the document, which is really a regional assessment that we hire a consultant to do. And if you got these documents, you can see here. We have the website where you find the other 2 regional assessments that were done. So you can see the scope of what kind of document and what kind of data and information that they actually want to put together for us. There's only 2 other places that have this scenic area of statewide significance, which is the Hudson River and then the Long Island Sound. And just from a personal point of view, I happen to think the majestic St. Lawrence beautiful river certainly falls into that category. So what we've done is we've gotten this grant, and part of what we kind of promised the Department of State, that for the $75,000 that we are going to hire a consultant along the lines of the people who did these other two previous ones, is they require matching funds. So that requires, and for us, it's going to be in kind. Okay, so that means for us, there's a $75,000 in kind that supplements on this.
When you
So-
say us, is that the town of Hammond or everything?
We actually included 10 municipalities.
10 municipalities from Morristown to Cape Vincent is what we included. But it's $75,000 total, is that what you're asking for? It's,
Right.
Yeah.
And of course, part of this is my in-kind contribution as they're deeming me as a professional, and some other kinds of things that the town of Hammond is doing, and possibly what the two county planning boards could give. But aside from that, what I think each town would be asked to do is to actually convene kind of an advisory board or committee within their own municipality, conduct any public meetings, assist the consultant with data collection, so you're kind of the ambassador, so, to help them get some data, get some photographs, get some information, historical information, business information, reviewing some of the assessments that comes back from the consultants, so what they've said and the kind of write-ups that they're doing, you would be reviewing and making sure that this is reflective of your community. And then disseminating, having public meetings, that kind of thing. So that's the kind of in-kind, really being an ambassador to help the consultant do their work. Now, the consultant hasn't been hired yet, because that's the other process too. There has to be an RFP issued to get the consultant. And I would think that people from the communities can help to determine who that might be as well. I just did like a little thing on my calculator, and if the state agrees with about $25 an hour for participation from the community, over a 30-month period, which is really what's left in the grant, that's really only 9 person-hours per month per each of the 10 communities. So I don't really see that that's an overwhelming thing that we can't participate in. So we're going to have a kickoff meeting, which they call it, on July 23rd, and we're going to hold it in Singer Castle. And there's going to be an invitation for the towns, and I'm not sure exactly how. I guess that's going out from your office.
Correct.
And then we'll see where we stand. So who is interested in participating, what kind of commitment you can conjure up, I guess, and go from there. We'll probably, and part of the agenda will probably to be discussing the tasks, the roles of the committees, and how they're going to interface with whatever consultant that we finally get, and how this is going to, there's probably some record keeping that the state requires in terms of making sure that you're, giving your in-kind contributions and things like that, kind of the nuts and bolts of getting everything together. But I think that covered everything.
Ron, didn't you tell me that, as an example, because this is a public meeting to discuss this, we take our sign-in sheet, here's part of, we've talked about SASS with, 55 people here, whatever, how many other people are here, and, that's part of our public involvement to hear the presentation and work on that.
Absolutely, Jason.
Yeah.
I mean, Val and I are tracking our
Yeah.
hours. We have been able to track our hours since March.
Yeah.
That's basically when the grant, the contract document was prepared. It's still not signed total, but we're able to track our time. And as we understand it, all it requires is, there's a state time sheet, if you would, but all it requires is to keep this log, and we need to keep the logs on file, and Hammond is acting as the, I guess Hammond is the act as like the lead agency in this, so in the end, we would compile everything and keep a file on it.
Do you know what, I I know that Clayton, both the town and the village, have what are called scenic overlook districts or areas that we've already adopted as part of our joint LWRP. When we look at regulations and controls, we may already have the product done in Clayton.
I think you may have a lot of that part of the project done. There's a couple of different aspects. One of them is that this process would give us we don't have like zoning in Hammond, for instance, okay? We don't have LWRP. But this end product would give us a document that if we chose to do, implement zoning in Hammond, it would give us a lot of material to work with. This document doesn't say this is what you have to do. It compiles it. I think Clayton probably has a lot of that done. I mean, and I'm hoping that you guys are on board with this because I think you can provide a lot of your information's already done. I think you can provide us with a lot of information. I think what we're working more towards with this project is, number one, name recognition to get the Thousand Island region out there, because no matter where I go, I can go 2 hours from home and people don't know where the Thousand Islands are. They seriously don't. They know where the Adirondack Park is, but well, if I go 2 hours from home, I'm usually in it, but you know, but anyways, unless I go due south, but they don't know the Thousand Islands, and you kind of have to explain it out, and you know, then they might know, oh, I went to Alexandria Bay once, you know. Well, I think that RiverQuest is really on board with this, thinking that we need to tell people, you know, the Thousand Islands is not Alex Bay, the Thousand Islands is not Rockville, you know, the Thousand Islands is a far-reaching area, and I think we can help bring economic development here in the sense of, you know, being together on this. The other thing that I wanted to mention is it seems to me more and more applying for grants now. We all do the consolidating funding applications for grants. One of the big things on that is economic benefits. How is your grant going to help, you know? I think that if we get the SASS designation here, I think it will give all of our towns and villages a step ahead of other people, because we have that. I mean, the regional council is all about, I mean, tourism is probably one of their biggest things. Economic development, they're really pushing tourism. They want to know anytime you write a grant application, you probably know. They want to know how this is going to tie in, how it's going to promote the region, how it's going to help. And I think this will go a long ways towards that.
Got a question.
That was a
Can I
long
ask you a
answer,
question?
but
Well,
that's up to you. Just,
Yeah.
I don't know what you want to do with this. So,
July 23rd.
yes. Yes, and you will get an official invitation to the town and the village. And I would urge you, you know, we were asking everyone, please send at least one person, please send someone to this meeting. The Department of State will have their representative there that is administering this grant. Did you mention that?
I'm sorry, no, Barbara.
Okay, yeah, Barbara Kendall will be there, she's administrating.
she's our new
grant.
Amy Dagatano, Barbara Kendall.
Yeah, we actually met with her here in Clayton, and you know, she will be there. She will explain the nuts and bolts of this program out from the Department of State's perspective. So I'm urging, you know, every municipality to get somebody there, and we're really looking at this from a perspective where we can meet this with in-kind services. I don't think we have to put, you know, we don't have to put much money into this at all. I don't know, were you involved in that Thousand Reflections video shoot of the river, the helicopter shoot or anything? I don't know if you were involved in that. We had some work done in Hammond, and I know they did a lot of work on the river, but and I don't know if any other, I think Alex Bay may have been involved in that to some degree. It's looking like the money that was spent on that project will qualify for in-kind services on this, because we're going to be able to use that. And I'm also talking to, right now, Tilt is, the Thousand Island Land Trust is doing that GIS thing.
And their services would be considered. Yeah.
They're saying they're gonna make that available to this project. They see no problem in making it available. And I'm trying to see right now if I can get footage from that helicopter fly over and get that to tilt at no cost to them. So I think we can coordinate that all together.
Just another question.
Yep.
Ron, you may or may not be able to answer this. Within the scenic area of statewide significance assessed, are wind overlay districts allowed in this SASS? Do you know? I mean, it sounds like we're gonna designate the Bell Islands, hopefully it's a SASS, right? As a scenic.
Yes, yes.
Currently, are there any, I mean, because everyone's here kind of for this wind.
Oh, okay, wind
So are
turbines, you
wind-
mean?
Yeah, so.
Would they be
you know,
allowed? I'm sorry.
So are they allowed, or wind overlay districts?
Yes, this will not, this SAS designation will not preclude any type of development.
Because I thought possibly it would.
No, they assure us that it doesn't, and what the Department of State says is what it actually will do is it will trigger an additional review for any project where there's state or federal funds. It will trigger basically a little bit more of a review of a project, but it will not preclude any project.
Might
They
not hurt.
gave one example they gave us at the meeting last year was the Hudson River view shed is a SAS. And there was, I believe they said it was a cement plant that was trying to get, they were building a cement plant and they were wanting to build it on the banks of the Hudson. I think what happened was they ended up saying the state was putting money in for economic development and things, and I think they ended up saying, hey, we'll give you a grant for a water line, but you gotta put your cement plant 5 miles away. And we'll give you a grant to cover the water line, to pump the water up there. But we don't want you to build your cement plant on the bank of the river, we want you to build it on the backside of the hill. But,
Okay, thank you.
but I know of no instances where this has ever stopped.
Well, it is, it's one more layer of review at least.
Yeah, I have a question.
If there's federal or state money, okay, that's the only time it triggers that additional review. But then they're saying if it's state or federal money involved, which a lot of projects are, then they'll say, well, you need to look at this because it is a scenic area. No, I've been asked that question many times, now that I wasn't sure where you were going. I've been asked that question many times, and no, this is not, this does not preclude industrial wind development or any other kind of development. So,
George, when we adopted the LWRP in the scenic overlay area, there is a checklist that would be, if you're building in that area, I think it would be the same as this. That's a separate checklist, a separate review that the planning board has to do for any type of construction in that scenic overlay district. So I think that's a very similar review. That's required by the Department of State, so I think it's a twin sister to
I think you're right.
what John's talking about there. And there will be, I think that there will be opportunities when we have the outreach meetings in the specific communities to ask specific questions about, how it might impact the community in those areas. But the purpose of this was to get the town board and the village board tuned in to firsthand information from Ron on that, so.
yeah, if you don't mind, I'll just throw out, I'm available email or phone. Town of Hammond NY is our website. If anybody has any questions, the board's, of course, and public included, if you have questions that I can answer, I'd be more than happy for you to send them. But,
I think
and there
we're-
will be public,
Yeah,
there will
I
be.
think we're almost done, unless there's specific questions that the public want to ask them after we close our meeting.
Just the date again, the Singer Castle, the date?
23rd of July.
Just before we break up, I just wanted, this is just strictly a comment, nothing to do with content, that this is a very great example of how to conduct yourself in a public forum. Because for the both, you should be commended. It was a very great presentation, carried yourself very well, all factual, and thank you very much.
Thank you. Thanks for having us again.